What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another video. If you don't know who I am, that means you're new. I'm Mark. What's good with y'all? Go check out my other videos. Check them out. Check them out. But first, stay on this one. I am very excited to finally be able to do this video. Why? Because that means I am almost done buying 45 ammo for a good little bit. It is not a cheap caliber, guys. But let's get right into it. The FNX-45 Tactical 1,000 round review update. I am very excited to bring this video to you guys. Now let's talk a little bit about the gun for those of you guys who don't know anything about the gun, or maybe you're just finding out about it, you're trying to do some research. I did a 500 round review. Check that video out. Holds a 15+1 capacity of course, 45 ACP, the Lord's caliber. Single double action, hammer fire obviously comes with a threaded barrel, suppressor height night sights, optics ready. Ambidextrous safety and decocker. Let me see here. Ambidextrous mag release. A pretty good single action trigger. Get the reset. And then you got a pretty good double action trigger as well. And some of you guys might be wondering, what do you mean by a pretty good double action trigger? That looked like a heavy trigger. It is a heavy trigger. That's the point of a double action trigger. That's what it was designed to do. Or at least it was a much longer trigger pull. Again, what it was designed to do. But moving on from that, 1,000 rounds later, have I had any malfunctions with this gun whatsoever? No, not at all. Not even a singular light strike. Now, I will say 45 ACP ammo, you are kind of limited when it comes to your choice of grains, when it comes to ammunition. Unlike 9mm, for example, or other calibers. The whole point I'm getting at is primarily I've ran 230 grain through it. I've ran Magtech. I've ran Sellers and I believe it's Celliers and Bellet. I don't know how to pronounce that. But I've ran Armscore through it. And honestly, I ran whatever range ammo I have found, which is a variety of different ammunition. So for all I know, it could have been a different grain that I've ran through it, and it worked flawlessly anyways, and I don't know. But I'm not going to lie to you guys and act like that has been the case. 1,000 rounds, no malfunctions, not even a light primer strike. And one of the great things about this gun is even if you do have a light primer strike, let's say it happens, you know what you do? You just let go of that trigger and pull it again. I mean, dude, this gun is great. Now, I will say I paid dealer price for this gun. I didn't pay your average retail price. So I'm not going to disclose how much I paid because that's not really your guys' business. But overall, I will say for the cost of it, it was well worth the money. It is a great shooting gun. And not to mention, too, just the size of it, you get such a great grip. It is phenomenal. It is fun to shoot. I've gotten every single person who has shot this gun, I've gotten a compliment from them about it. They're like, yo, I like this gun. I love shooting this gun. The capacity it holds, the trigger, everything about it, the feel, it feels phenomenal. Now, a tip for those of you guys who are, let's say you just bought one, right? I personally like to use the ambi safety and decocker almost as a gas pedal for my right thumb. Why is that? Well, it just feels a bit more comfortable when you get that support hand. And because it is a ambi safety and decocker, you do have one on the left side. In case you are a lefty, you could do the same. But if you think about it, the reason why it's such a good idea is because the placement of your index finger, it is already going to be in a place that blocks it from, let's say, decocking on its own while you're shooting, for example. And let's talk about shooting. Again, I can't talk about how great this gun shoots, but I'm done talking about it. I'm going to show you guys I have slow shooting. I have mag dumps. I got bill drills. And I got Mozambiques. But now that I've gotten the shooting videos out of the way, again, guys, 1,000 rounds, 0 malfunctions. Yes, for the price point, I do expect it to have no malfunctions. But I will also say I did not expect to enjoy shooting it as much as I did. All I really need left for this gun at this point is a 45 can and a light, probably a Surefire X300. Haven't decided yet. This gun is phenomenal. The dot I got on it just complements it and makes it the chef's kiss. So it's, I will say, for the price point of what you will find it at, I've seen places sell it for around $1,300 sticker price. So that's not including tax, of course. But even for that price, I would still say that the FNX-45 Tactical is a great purchase. Hasn't had a singular issue. I mean, granted, that's what you're expecting from FN. That is 100% what you expect from them. But my goodness, man, 1,000 rounds later, not a single malfunction is beyond impressive. Now, we have to talk about the 4 self-defense situations yet again. Throughout this extra 500 round process, have any of my thoughts changed on whether or not, this gun is good for self-defense in all 4 of the situations? Well, let's get right into it. So again, you have a pretty good round with a pretty good capacity and a pretty good size gun that comes with pretty much every availability to add an accessory, or at least extra accessories already on it, right out of the box. I mean, yeah, this would be a pretty good home defense gun right here. Great trigger, pretty good round. Not the most expensive round, but it's about twice the cost of 9mm, which I'm not happy about personally, but that's besides the point. Overall, very accurate gun. You guys have seen my shorts. If you haven't checked those out, you can see I am literally ripping out the center. I am ripping out the bullseye just with 1 mag, 2 mags through this gun. Moving on, though, for home defense, this gun pretty much has everything you need. There is no disagreeing with it. I can't remember the score I gave it on the 500 round review. However, what I will say is, honestly, if you get yourself a nice dot, nice can, and a good light, I would say this would be a 10 out of 10 gun for home defense, 100%. But I'm not going to be that way. I'm going to rate it based off how I have it right now. And I would put it at probably a solid 8.5 out of 10, maybe a 9 on if you catch me on a good day, I might say a 9, but at the moment, 8.5 out of 10. Why is that? What would make it, what would give it that extra oomph? Well, simply if I could just add those accessories and count it along with it. But I don't have them on here, so I'm not going to cheat you guys out of a fair review. I'm not going to be that person. Moving on from home defense. What do you have next? You got concealed carry. Concealed carry, you're not carrying this gun. You're not concealed carrying this gun. 15 plus 1 of 45 is not a light mag to carry with you, especially if you're going to carry a backup mag. And this isn't exactly a light or small gun. Let's get that out of the way. This is not a light or small handgun by any capacity. So you're more likely than not going to be concealed carrying this. However, let's say you do conceal carry this. 1, impressive. 2, it's going to be very reliable for concealed carry as well. I just feel like it's going to be very obvious that you're carrying it, which is the whole reason why I say a majority of people are not going to be concealed carrying the FNX-45 Tactical. Uh, Other than that, though, I don't see it being an issue for concealed carry. It's simply just going to be very obvious that you're concealed carrying it, which takes away the whole point of concealed carrying, which is it being concealed, the element of surprise. So for concealed carry, simply because of its size, I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. Now, this has nothing to this has nothing to do, again, with the gun's reliability, any of the features on the gun, anything along those lines. It simply has to do with its size. And let's be honest here, guys, if you got 15 rounds of 45 in your mag, yeah, it's not exactly going to be a small gun. All right, let's be real with ourselves here. We should have expected that. Let's move on to an SHTF situation. In an SHTF situation, the FNX-45 Tactical, unfortunately, is going to get a bit lower of a score. Why is that? Well, while being a great gun, while being a pretty good-looking gun, too, I might add, uh, it's not exactly the most widely produced firearm in the country, let alone on the planet. It's definitely not a Glock 19 when it comes to its levels of being massively produced, if you understand what I mean. So finding parts, finding mags might be a little more difficult, to say the least. But don't let that discourage you. I mean, 45, while not the most popular caliber either, is still a fairly mass-produced cartridge, which means that you can at least find ammo for it. However, if your parts wear down or break, you might just be screwed. You really might just be screwed in this case. You might have to get another gun somehow in an SHTF situation. You better hope you have multiple, to say the least. So would I recommend the FNX-45 Tactical for an SHTF situation? No. Is it better than nothing? Sure, yeah. It'll definitely do a better job than a 22 would, at least when it comes to self-defense. But what I will also say is that, again, with such a lack of parts availability, with such a lack of magazine availability, with such not really a lack of ammunition availability, but also kind of, because 45, while it's not dead, a lot of people like to argue it's a dying caliber. I don't know how to feel about that. The whole point I'm getting at, though, is I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10 for an SHTF situation. Now, moving on, last but not least, to a animal defense situation. With an animal defense situation, you have a good capacity, a good size gun. 45 ACP, it'll do a pretty good job at stopping a majority of all small animals and a majority of medium-sized animals. And if you have enough rounds, all medium-sized animals. But I don't know how much I would put my faith in it for larger animals. I mean, I'm sure there are a lot of people who are going to argue, oh, well, you know, there's this guy who shot a grizzly bear with a 45 and it hit the bear right in the head, and boom, that bear was done for one round. And I'm not saying that 45 can't protect yourself, that, you know, a stick is better than, you know, having a 45 with you when it comes to an animal defense situation with a large animal. However, what I am more so saying is that there are better calibers you can have. And if you have the option, I would much rather you take the better calibers that will actually do a better job at stopping a larger animal from harming you. For example, if you really need it to be a semi-auto, 10 millimeter. If you're a revolver person, 357 mag, 44 mag. I would more so argue 44 mag than 357 Magnum, but regardless, what would I give the FNX-45 Tactical in an animal defense situation on a scale of 1 to 10? I'm going to keep it at a 6 out of 10. Why? Because while it can do the job, it's not your worst bet in all reality. It is not if you have this, you might be okay depending on the size of the animal. So let's get that out of the way. However, what I can say is that it is not your best bet, plain and simple. That's why it's going to get a 6 out of 10 here. Has nothing to do, again, with the reliability of the gun. Guys, 1,000 rounds later, several different brands of ammunition, several different kinds of ammunition, not a single malfunction. The gun is reliable. There's no issue with that. And you guys might be wondering, well, how often have you been cleaning or lubing the gun? I only clean the gun one time before hitting 1,000 rounds, and that was when I hit 500 rounds. Why? Because when I showed the gun off in the 500 round review, I didn't want it to look absolutely disgusting, and you guys roast me about it. You know what I mean? But all in all, I mean, you got I believe I did a 8.5 out of 10 for home defense. I believe I did a 7.5 out of 10 for concealed carry. Let's see here. I did 6 and 6 for SHTF and animal defense. You're looking here at a 28 out of 40, which again is a little under 75%. That's not bad, especially considering this is just going to be my home defense handgun. But with that being said, I do think that about wraps it up for this video. Over 1,000 rounds later, guys, I mean, I don't know what else you could want. This gun is phenomenal. It is easy to use. It is smooth, fun to shoot. And I mean, even at the MSRP that you might find it at, even at your just typical sticker price, again, $1,300 I've seen some places sell it for. That's not really a bad price for this gun. But with that being said, y'all make sure to like, comment, subscribe, share, hit that bell. When you hit that bell, hit all in. Whether or not you agree with me about my thoughts on the FNX-45 Tactical, go ahead and comment your thoughts down below. Comment your experiences with it below, whether you like it, whether you hate it, whether you never had it, whether you want it. Comment down below. Make sure to check out all my other videos. Y'all make sure to stay legal, stay safe, stay dangerous. Have a good one, y'all. Peace.